this morning. So we have entered our shared sacred space, and we have muted everyone except me. We are going to, this morning, when it comes to joys and concerns and committee moments, we are going to go first with those that know how to raise their hand on the participant screen. Kelly mentioned a minute or two ago, you go into participants, it's a little button that you'll find somewhere on your video, and you can raise your hand there. Those that raise their hands will be acknowledged first, then those in the chat room that write something, and then we'll scan for people raising their hands. So please kind of wait till you're called on so we don't have too many people trying to talk over each other, okay? And if you have your own chalice, now's the time to make sure you have it sitting near you with matches so that you can light one when we all get to that portion. And what else? Oh, we are going to do an interlude and offering in the middle. So if you want to grab a checkbook that you can put in an envelope later, feel free. Or remember, you can always push the button for donate on our website. I think that's it to get started. So let's settle in, turn off other competing electronic devices, and just get ready to relax for the next hour or so. And we will do committee moments first. So let's, Kelly's going to manage that for me. So Kelly, you're up. I'm trying to unmute you.
Okay, we have Ann Packham who has, Ann, you're up. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear Kelly. We need to unmute Ann. There she is.
So the women's group had its first virtual Zoom meeting last Friday. It was a great success. And we're going to meet again on Friday, this coming Friday. We're still figuring out the time that works. It's kind of works in with people who are working full time still, and then those who need to get dinner ready. So probably like 5:30-ish, somewhere in that general vicinity, and just check your email. And if you're not on the women's group email list, just shoot me an email, annpackham@yahoo.com.
Thank you, Ann. Next up, we have Crystal.
Good morning, this is Crystal. I just wanted to remind everyone that we are doing parent support groups still. We've actually moved it up to every week via a Zoom meeting at 9 p.m. Every Sunday. So if you do need the link for that, please reach out to me, or I'll figure out a way to put it in the chat room here shortly.
Thank you, Crystal. Okay, we have, I think it's Chloe McElroy. Go ahead, Chloe.
Not me, sorry. It's my dad that needs to talk.
I can't. David, David, you're up.
Yeah, thank you. This Monday evening, tomorrow night at 6:30, we're having the men's support group. It's going to be hosted by Paul Mata, because I don't have the full scale things. And it will be kind of just it's not going to, because we're an anonymous group, we're not going to like really get into deep stuff, but we will be able to share and see how everybody's doing. So tomorrow night at 6:30, and Paul Mata will have the, I think it sent it out, forwarded it to everybody. If you don't have the information, please get back to me or Paul.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Okay. Okay, so I do not see any more hand raised. And so we do have something in the chat. We have a message from Laura Owens, who just wanted, who's representing SACS. Please don't forget about the Zebra Coalition Share the Plate. We decided to collect, I guess, monies through the end of May. So she wants to thank everyone for that. We have RE in terms of meditation. Is this from you, Judith?
Yes.
Yeah, it's from me. it says that religious education is, there's meditation on Tuesday through Saturday mornings at 8:30 in the morning. On Wednesday evening, Karen Cowden is offering a Wednesday evening meditation. It also says story time Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. for children of all ages, and I have a variety of readers. And all those links can be found on the website, on the Facebook page, or in the RE newsletter.
Okay. And so, Martha, that's all. That's all the chats and all the hands that were raised.
Okay, I don't see anyone else with a hand raised either. Thank you, Kelly. I have one last announcement. Next week, we are going to be doing flower communion online. There's a lot of history there to share about the flower communion. It's a Unitarian ritual, and we'll have several members leading that. So you are encouraged to please wear flowers if you can. If you have flowered shirts, Hawaiian shirts will work, like Steve is wearing today. That's greenery. That's good. So wear flowers, and if you're blessed with flowers and greenery in your yard, bring some in to decorate your home picture, because we won't be able to exchange flowers, but we can at least see them all. So let's try to make flower communion as meaningful as it can be when we're not there to hug each other in person, okay? So that's looking forward to next week. All right. For opening words today, these opening words are going to segue right into our chalice lighting. So have your chalice lighting ready as we celebrate both Passover and Easter and realize how these are connected with themes of transcendence and resilience and hope. These words are from Dillman Baker Sorrells. For holy days on which we recall the old stories, we light the flame. For Passover, which reminds us of the courage and strength of those seeking freedom in the past, we light the flame. For Easter, which reminds us that love is our greatest challenge, we light the flame. For gathering today in this sacred space, we light the flame. For the opportunity to be together as a community, to remember the past, to plan for our future, to be alive in our present. Now, please join me in our traditional words as we all light our chalices. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And the affirmation of this church: love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. May it be so. If we have any guests this morning, I know we have at least one friend of Reverend Kathy's from school, which is wonderful. Relatives, other people joining us for Easter, like so often happens. Welcome. Please check in every week. We'll be doing this for the foreseeable future, and it's wonderful to see all of you this morning. Joys and concerns are a very important part of our community, and we make time for them every week so that we know what's weighing our members' hearts down or lifting them up. So we'll take this time to share. Kelly is going to monitor, and we're starting with the raised hands on the participant screen. and Kelly for managing that. And let's take a moment of silence to honor those great joys from Carrie. That was exciting. Um, and the concerns for Caitlin and Chloe Hatfield and others. And all the people whose lives are currently being affected by this COVID-19, which is all of us, whether we know somebody personally or not. And hopefully we're coming through it well, and it'll soon be managed. So let's just take a moment of silence. We have a special time for all ages today because Reverend Kathy is going to lead us. And we are going to turn over the screen and the microphone to Reverend Kathy. I'm just going to introduce her now so that I don't have to do it again later. But she's the former minister at 1U for so many years. She's a good friend of this congregation after a career as a software engineer, computer engineer, something like that. You know, they never stick in my brain too well. She's been a minister for a very long time, and we're very appreciative to have her back in our online pulpit again this morning. So, all yours, Kathy.
Great. Thank you. And it is so great to be with all of you again. So this morning, I wanted to talk to you about my Easter basket. I've named my Easter basket Hope. Hope is one of the words that I associate with Easter. I think a lot do. Our Christian friends and neighbors are celebrating Easter this morning, and the stories that they tell about Easter have a lot to do with hope. And I don't know about you, but I think a lot of people in the world today are needing some hope right now. And did you know that there are some things we can do to help feel more hopeful? There are. And I want to fill my Easter basket with those things. Now, we usually fill our Easter baskets with eggs. But what are eggs? Eggs are things that something grows from. And so today I'm going to be filling my Easter basket with hope eggs. And each one of those eggs can help hope grow. And I have 3 different types of hope eggs, but I want to share with you that this week, some of the children, and I guess an adult too, from the congregation, colored some hope eggs for us. So thank you, Ethan and Anna and Crystal and Billy. And thank you to Judith for making them easy to share. So there were 3 types of eggs I want to talk about. The first are eggs of patience. I wonder if you know what that means. Patience means being able to wait. Oh my gosh, have you had to wait this week? Maybe for a grown-up to finish something important that they were doing, or for something to get delivered to your house, or till you could talk to a friend again? A lot of people have trouble with patience. I'm one of them, and it can be hard. But being patient can help us stay hopeful when we're waiting for something to happen. So maybe you'd like to put an egg of patience in your basket this week so that you can help hope grow. Now, the second egg that I want to talk about is courage. And I bet you know what that means. It's being brave or doing something scary. And have you ever needed to find some courage to do something you needed to do? Sometimes it's easy, but sometimes it's a lot of work. But courage can help us face a new and difficult situation with an open heart. The word courage actually comes from heart. It means to have a strong heart. And that can help us if we can be brave when things are tough. So maybe this week you'd like to put an egg of courage in your Easter basket. And then the last type of egg I want to talk about is persistence. Now, this might not be a word that some of you know. Persistence means to keep trying, to not give up, to persist. That's what that means, to keep going. Have you ever wanted to give up when something was really hard? Right? It's just like, never mind, I don't want to do that. It can be hard to keep going. But if we persist, we can be more hopeful if we can remember that idea that we can keep going. So maybe this week you'd like to put an egg of persistence in your basket so that it can help hope grow. Patience and courage and persistence are three things that we can practice if we want to be more hopeful. Sometimes they're easy to practice and sometimes they're hard. The three eggs are the three practices that we can put in our basket to grow more hope. Maybe later you can talk with other people in your house and ask them if they've ever used patience or courage or persistence to help grow hope in their life. And if you notice sometime this week that they're in need of a little bit of hope, maybe you can help them to practice these things that can give all of us hope. I wish you a good week practicing hope. Thanks, Martha. Thank you all.
Thank you, Kathy. Those are very good qualities and characteristics for us to remember. Yes. Before the interlude and offering, we have a meditative reading that three of our members are going to share with you. I believe that Evelyn, yes, is here. So with Evelyn Shalon and Jilvita and Roberta Lerman, we'll unmute, and maybe Judith can help make sure they're all unmuted. I will read the introduction for us to this reading entitled Passover Remembered. I invite you now to a time of meditation and reflection, hearing a little echo. Settle more fully into our time of worship together. Take a moment to bring yourself fully to this time and place. Relax your body, calm your mind, feel your breath flowing in, flowing out. Breathe. This meditation titled Passover Remembered comes from Alla Renee Bozarth, one of the first 11 women ordained as Episcopal priest in 1974. And Evelyn, Jill, and Roberta.
Pack nothing. Bring only your determination to serve and your willingness to be free. Don't wait for the bread to rise. Take nourishment for the journey, but eat standing. Be ready to move at a moment's notice.
Do not hesitate to leave your old ways behind. Fear, silence, submission. Only surrender to the need of time, to love justice, and walk humbly with your God.
Roberta?
Begin quickly before you have time to sink back into old slavery. Set out in the dark. I have sent fire to warm and encourage you. I will be with you in the fire, and I will be with you in the cloud.
I will give you dreams in the desert to guide you safely home to that place you have not yet seen. I am sending you into the wilderness to make a new way and to learn my ways more deeply.
Some of you will be so changed by weathers and wanderings that even your closest friends will have to learn your features as though for the first time. Some of you will not change at all.
Some will be abandoned by your dearest loves and misunderstood by those who have known you since birth and feel abandoned by you. Some will find new friendship in unlikely faces and old friends as faithful and true as the pillar of God's flame.
Sing songs as you go and hold close together. You may at times grow confused and lose your way. Touch each other and keep telling the stories. Make maps as you go, remembering the way back from before you were born.
Still, you will only be the first of many waves of deliverance on these desert seas.
It is the first of many beginnings, your paschal tide.
Remain true to this mystery.
Pass on the whole story.
Do not go back. I am with you now, and I'm waiting for you.
Let us be together in shared silence again, broken only by our hymn, Morning Has Broken, as we take a moment for our interlude and offering. Thank you. Thank you. That is a beautiful hymn. And thank you for your contributions to our fellowship. And let's move forward. Before Reverend Kathy begins her part of the service, we have two readings that help provide context for what she's going to talk about. Both these readings this morning come from the Christian Gospel of Mark. It contains the Easter story as found at the end of Mark. This gospel reading has two endings. Barry London is going to read the first version from Mark chapter 16, verses 1 through 8.
When the Sabbath was over, Mary of Magdala, Mary, the mother of James, and Salome brought spices with which to go and anoint him. And very early in the morning, on the first day of the week, they came to the tomb just as the sun was rising. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone for us from the entrance to the tomb?" But when they looked, they could see that the stone, which is very big, had already been rolled back. On entering the tomb, they saw a young man in a white robe seated on the right side, and they were struck with amazement. But he said to them, "There is no need for alarm. You are looking for Jesus of Nazareth, who was crucified. He is risen. He is not here. See, here is the place where they laid him. But you must go and tell his disciples and Peter, he is going before you to Galilee. It is there you will see him, just as he told you." And the women came out and ran away from the tomb because they were frightened out of their wits. And they said nothing to a soul, for they were afraid.
That is one ending. Yet other manuscripts have these additional words read to us this morning from Mark 16, 9 through 20 by Miak Buchanan.
Hello, everyone. Having risen in the morning on the first day of the week, he appeared first to Mary of Magdala, from whom he had cast out 7 devils. Then he went to those who had been his companions and who were mourners and in tears, and told them. But they did not believe her when they heard her say that he was alive, and that she had seen him. After this, he showed himself under another form to 2 of them, and they were on their way in the country. As they were in the way in the country, these went back and told the others, who did not believe them either. Lastly, he showed himself to the 11 themselves while they were at table. He reproached them for their incredulity and obstinacy, because they had refused to believe those who had seen him. He had risen, and he said to them, "Go out to the world, the whole world, proclaim the good news to all creation. He who believes and is baptized will be saved. Those who do not believe will be condemned. These are the signs that will be associated with believers. In my name they will cast out devils. They will have the gift of tongues. They will pick up snakes in their hands and be unharmed should they drink deadly poison. They will lay their hands on the sick, who will recover." And so the Lord Jesus, after he had spoken to them, was taken up into heaven. There at the right hand of God, he took his place while they, going out, preached everywhere, the Lord working with them and confirming the word by the signs that accompanied it.
Thank you. Reverend Kathy?
Good morning again. On this Sunday, when many in the Christian world celebrate the life and resurrection of the Savior, we look at questions of hope to see what they might mean in our time. For Unitarian Universalists, we don't talk about salvation all that often. I would suggest the way that we might understand the term salvation is to connect it to hope. Hope, at least according to Webster's, is to cherish a desire with an expectation of fulfillment. There are some hopes we can do nothing about, except maybe be reasonable in our expectations and not get too attached to the form that the fulfillment might take. To hope, to cherish a desire with an expectation of fulfillment. Sometimes our hopes need a little help from us. Sometimes we need to do something for there to be any hope at all. To hope is to cherish a desire with an expectation of fulfillment. Sometimes we need hope, and the ability to find and maintain hope just might be our salvation. Perhaps to be saved is to have hope, and to hope is to be saved. What might salvation look like for us? And what are we called to do to bring forth rebirth and renewal in our society, our nation, and our world in times such as these? Many today live without hope, and that was before we found ourselves in the middle of a pandemic. Many live without hope. People gathered with us this morning, here and now, people in the wider world from across Central Florida to the other side of the world. The headlines and the daily counts can be a source of despair, and it is possible to spend all of one's time in despair. However, I'd like us to consider that there are other choices. I'd like to suggest that we can make the choice to have hope instead. This is better for us and our neighbors and the world. Now, can I sit here and say for certain that if you are hopeful, everything will turn out okay? Well, yes and no. It depends on what you mean by turn out okay. If you mean, will everything turn out the way you want? The answer is no. If it means, will everything turn out in a way from which a new path can be found? Then the answer is yes. So let's just be modest and say your hope is for world peace. Seeing the state of the world, you might decide it's impossible and give up and spend your time in despair. You might emerge out of your despair-driven funk occasionally, just long enough to make cynical remarks in these days on social media that drag everyone around you into your gloom as well. Nothing in that scenario is likely to advance the cause of world peace, nor frankly is it likely to make you feel any better. So let's say you decide to hope for world peace, really hope. Will it be achieved? Not likely. Can you make a difference in your small corner of the world? Probably. Actually, absolutely. There's a story that is often told in environmental circles. It's attributed to Lauren Isley, and some of you have probably heard it. It's about a person walking down the beach, and up ahead they see someone that's repeatedly bending and picking something up and tossing it into the sea. When the person gets closer, it becomes obvious that what is being picked up are the many starfish lying on the beach. One by one, they're being tossed into the waves in a seemingly hopeless task. What are you doing? Calls the walker. Throwing these starfish into the sea, answers the tosser. I mean, why? Because the tide is going out and the sun is coming up, and otherwise they'll dry out. But it's hopeless. You can't save them all. What you are doing doesn't matter. The tosser leans down, picks up the next starfish and gives it a toss. It matters to that one, came the reply. Hope might not save the world, but it might save your spirit. Earlier, I suggested that we can all become more hopeful by practicing patience and courage and persistence. I found the idea that these 3 practices support hope a few years back on the website for Spirituality and Health magazine, which talks about hope as a spiritual practice. It says, and I'm quoting here, hope is a positive and potent spiritual practice with the power to pull us through difficult times. It is usually described with light metaphors: a ray, a beam, a glimmer of hope, the break in the clouds, the light at the end of the tunnel. It is often discovered in unexpected places. It continues. Hope can be learned with practice. Certain attitudes support it. One is patience, an ability to tolerate delays, a willingness to let events unfold in their own time. The other is courage, an attitude of confidence, even when facing the unknown. A third is persistence, the determination to keep going no matter what happens. We can have hope when we can say, all will be well, and we mean it. End quote. Some of us may be more hopeful or patient or courageous or persistent by nature. Others of us probably have to work a little harder. But I would suggest that hope is a human need, so we need to recognize it, cultivate it, and honor it. The spring holidays each carry a message of hope. We passed the first day of spring a few weeks ago, and the days began to be longer than the nights. In its pagan roots, the celebration of the spring equinox is about the rebirth of spring and life returning to earth. In the Jewish celebration of Passover, currently in progress, we also deal with hope. The promise of something better on the other side of slavery, the other side of wandering in the desert, the other side of being willing to change and be changed. In the Christian scriptures, Easter is about life and death and resurrection of Jesus of Nazareth, who is, to his followers, hope incarnate. In 3 of the 4 Gospels in the Christian scriptures, Jesus appears to the disciples after his death. In the 4th, the Gospel of Mark, there's the question of the double ending shared earlier. There are different theories on why some versions have the additional text and some do not. But early manuscripts of each form have been found. In the first ending, the women approach the tomb after the Sabbath to anoint Jesus. They find the tomb open. Jesus is gone, and a young man in a white robe tells them that Jesus has risen and is going before them to Galilee. And then it says, the women came out and ran away from the tomb because they were frightened out of their wits, and they said nothing to a soul, for they were afraid. The original author leaves it there. Maybe because it was true. Maybe for suspense and drama. Maybe the last page was simply missing from a copy of the manuscript and it got passed down in its incomplete form. There are lots of theories. But why did the second ending get added? Again, many theories. I think it is ultimately that the first ending was spiritually unsatisfying. While the women were told that Jesus had risen, this is not the message with which the reader is left. The reader is left with the message that they were frightened out of their wits. It was a message of uncertainty and fear rather than hope. And the human spirit needs hope. I think this is true in our times as well. It's easy to despair. Having hope does not come easily. We may have to cultivate it. We can choose to stay in the first ending in which we are frightened out of our wits, we can write a better ending to our story. Because some of us have trouble relating to the Easter story in its literal form, I would like to invite us to listen to it in its metaphorical form. I have taken the liberty of rewriting the second ending of Mark and changed it to new, rather humanistic language. For Jesus, I have substituted hope. For Mary of Magdala, I have simply used one, as in the one who, whatever. For the disciples, I have used the companions of hope. Now, I have not removed all the biblical language. You have to do some of the work. But try to listen to this as a metaphor, an invitation to open ourselves to hope. Try to imagine that you have been a companion of hope, one who has dreamed great dreams for the world, but whose hopes have been dashed. And you find yourself in despair and in mourning, and you are afraid for yourself and for the world, afraid to hope. Now listen. Having risen in the morning on the first day of the week, hope appeared first to the one from whom hope had cast out evils. That one then went to those who had been the companions of hope, who were in mourning and in tears, and told them. The companions did not believe when it was said that hope was still alive and that the one had seen hope. After this, hope appeared under another form to two of them as they were on their way into the country. These went back and told the others, who didn't believe them either. Lastly, hope appeared to the companions themselves while they were at dinner. Hope reproached them for their incredulity and obstinacy because they had refused to believe those who had seen hope after hope had risen. And hope said to them, "Go out to the whole world, proclaim the new good news of all creation. Those who hope will be saved. Those who do not have hope will be condemned. These are the signs that will be associated with believers. In my name, and that is hope, they will cast out all evils. They will have the gift of communication. They will be courageous and be able to do things they did not think they could. They will reach out and help others to heal." So hope, after speaking to them, assumed a rightful place in the vision of the world as it could be and should be. And the companions went out, preached everywhere, hope working with them and confirming the work by the signs that accompanied it. Here ends our translation. Too many people today are in despair, are in mourning, are afraid. They refuse to see that the opportunity for hope still exists. This despair is too easy, maybe at times even too lazy or too selfish. Of course, we will all have our moments of despair, our difficult times. But ultimately, the world needs the hope that is available. The world needs us, to recognize it, to embrace it, to share it. The world needs us to create hope when and where we can, beginning with our own hearts. This may take practice and hard work. It may not come easy. It may require something of us. It will undoubtedly involve patience and courage and persistence. You can't save the whole world, but you can choose actions that matter to someone, even if all that can be said is, it matters to that one. Sometimes what is needed is hope, and the ability to find and maintain hope can be our salvation. We find in this added ending to our story that we are not only called to have hope, we are called to act out of that hope. Something is required of us, the companions of hope. We are called to make hope real in the world, to recognize it, to embrace it, to share it with the world. Easter, springtime, is a time of hope, a reminder to our weary spirits of the renewal that is possible, a call to see what within us is in need of resurrection, an opportunity to be reborn once again to the wonders of this life we share. I wish you a hopeful week. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Kathy. Hope and faith leading to a world we want to see. Bring themes from Passover and Easter, and how patience, persistence, and courage can overcome fear and despair. Hopefully we'll hold those words in our hearts for this week. Let's extinguish our chalices. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth. The warmth
of
community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. So I'd like to, before I do closing words, I'd like to thank Evelyn, Jilvita, and Roberta for joining this morning, along with Barry and Miak as being readers. And also thank once again Trista, Patrick, Paul, Judith. I hope I'm not forgetting anyone. Kelly, that are helping make these services work. So I appreciate it, and we'll be asking other people to participate. You'll see some of our members next week in Flower Communion. Please remember your flowered shirts, your flowers to sit beside you, and come and join in one of our annual rituals that we don't want to let go, even though we can't be together. We are going to unmute everyone after my closing words, let you kind of manage yourself for a few minutes and say hi to anybody you might want to check in with, and pretend we're having a little social hour before the RE starts at noon. So for closing words, they come from Carl C. Seberg. Between the dawn and dusk of our being, let us be brave and loving. In our little passage through the light, let us sustain and forward the human venture in gentleness, in service, and in thought. May it be so. Enjoy the rest of your Easter and the rest of Passover, which ends on the 16th. Bye.
Bye, Martha.